Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn. This is the second in the Lunch and Learn series put on by Enliven Victoria, part of each. The title of this one is Plain Language and AI, a helpful tool or just hype? I'd like to begin by acknowledging the people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land and waterways where we learn and grow together. We recognize our personal obligation to respect this heritage and their elders, past, present, and emerging, and support the future by striving for justice and reconciliation. I am joining today from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. So today we are going to ask a couple of questions. First of all, how helpful is AI when writing in plain language? Secondly, can I use AI to convert my document into plain language? So as we get started on that discussion, first of all, what is AI? So Yannicka did a wonderful exercise where she actually asked AI to define itself. So you can see at the top right here, what is AI plugged into AI? So AI stands for artificial intelligence. It refers to the ability of machines, particularly computer systems, to perform tasks that usually require human intelligence. So there's a list of tasks there that can include. But in short, AI is about creating machines that can think or act in ways that seem intelligent. So another background bit, what is plain language? So plain language is clear communication that meets the needs of the intended audience. So the International Plain Language Federation defines this as communication being in plain language if its wording, its structure, and its design are clear enough that the audience can find what they need, understand what they find, and use the information. There are 4 principles of plain language. So those principles, as set out by the International Plain Language Standard, is first of all, relevant, that readers can get what they need. Secondly, findable, so that readers can easily find the information that they need. Number 3 is understandable, so readers can easily understand what it is that they have found. And finally, number 4, usable. They can easily use the information. So that's basic background. And we're going to use this to look at an example of how that may or may not work with AI. For that, I'm going to pass across to Yannicka.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tia. And oh my goodness, that was the most stressful 5 minutes I've ever had letting people into the room. So Tia normally does that part for me. So I'm so sorry if I was looking like I was all over the place for a moment there. But thank you so much for the introduction, Tia. As Tia mentioned, my name's Yannicka and I work in the health promotion, in the plain language and health literacy team with Enliven, which is part of each. So now that Tia's taken you through a bit of a explanation around plain language and what AI is, I'm going to talk through how we put it to the test for this Lunch and Learn. So basically, we created a information notice. The situation was that Wombat Basketball Centre is being upgraded. So this is an information notice that needs to go out to families. The purpose of the document is to advise of the upgrade and the changes because there's a few disruptions around the venue. And the audience is families of Wombuckshire Basketball Club. So they're a basketball club that use their centre. And yes, I do definitely regret using Wombat and Wombok as my two names, but that's okay. We're going with it now. So our first step, we're putting the text into Chat GPT. So that's the AI that we're using for this review. And then we're actually going to take the text that Chat GPT gave us, and we're actually going to put it through Enliven's plain language review service as well. And then we'll have a look at what we would have done differently. It's certainly not just about talking about what AI can't do. There's quite a lot of things that done really well, but it is good to have a look at what we would do as sort of that extra step in plain language as well. Okay, so this is a very text-heavy slide, but it's the text that I used to test out the plain language services. So I'm not going to read it all because it is quite heavy, text heavy, but you can see that we've got a bit of an introduction that talks about the upgrade. It follows with some changes that are going to happen across the project. So we've got car park closures, we've got entrance changes, the usual. So it's not something we haven't seen before. It is squeezed onto a slide. So yes, it's probably a little bit text heavy compared to what would come in the mail, but it is definitely something that would normally be sent out to families that use the centre.
You did.
So now we took this text and we asked AI to convert it to plain language. So it was actually my request is to take the text and convert it to plain language specifically. And this is what it came up with. So it was actually better than I expected it to come out. So you can see that it has definitely done more than just simplifying words, which is often what people think when I mention plain language. So I was quite pleased with that. You can see that it's broken things down into grouped information, which is really great for people that when they're trying to process information. It's used dot points and subheadings. So anyone that's done any form of training with me will know how much I love a subheading for two reasons. One, it sets up your reader for what they're about to read. So it takes away that introduction line that we've always been taught at school to do. And it also allows you to find information back as well. So in this case, it's allowing you to find back information, say after the car park reopens again, we can see that section to go straight to, and then we can find that information that we need. So a really important element of plain language or just communication itself. You can see also that it removed the long-winded introduction. It removed, we wish to advise you, so it's gone with a much more relatable tone, which is fantastic as well. And then it also, I was quite impressed that it actually picked up the word TLC and it recognised that that actually meant care, so 10 to 11 care, but it removed that as well. Just go here. Yeah, fantastic. So are you able to, I can hear some voices, Tia. Are you able to just mute the people in the background?
I can. Yes, I will do that.
Amazing. Actually, I think I found them. Sorry about that. But yeah, we might just need to mute the background sound as well because we're recording. And then you can see that just in that red box there, I just done a really quick glance at some of the things that I noticed that it potentially didn't do quite right. It did change the word amenities to toilets, so that may not necessarily be right because it can mean more than that. But I also noticed that it put easier access for everyone under the heading of what's being upgraded as well. So that's also not quite right in the categories as well. But overall, it's not the worst review and conversion, and it does definitely give a lot more simple information, which is ultimately what our goal was there. Before we move on to the next section, which is actually the review that we've done as part of our plain language review service, I'll just remind you of the slide that Tia went through, which was the 4 guiding principles of plain language. And what our goals are is to keep the information really relevant, findable, and understandable. And then that encompasses the word usable there. So we hope that if we're making sure everything is relevant, findable, and understandable, that we're then creating a usable document. This comes from the International Plain Language Standard, so we know that we're doing things as best practice. So it's really important that we go by these 4 principles when we're converting or creating or reviewing any of our information.
It's only got 10 minutes.
Okay, so this here is what our review service looks like. So this is a service we offer as part of our plain language suite of services, and it's great for those that want to make their own edits. So we provide suggestions, things we may edit, we flag things that may need to be considered, we question information that's in the document. So we put that plain language lens across the whole document, but also explain why we feel that way or why that may need to be changed. And it allows you to actually make those changes yourself. So it works really well for a lot of organisations that have a really strong brand voice. So you're keeping your brand voice in there. It also really works well for constant changing documents as well, because it allows you to understand why these changes are being made and applying them to future versions as well. So what I've done here is I actually submitted it to Nat, who is our plain language coordinator, and she actually performed a review. So I've just taken a screenshot of that here. I know that it's very small and it's very hard to see the details, but it just gave you an idea of what it looks like. What I then done is I actually have taken a few of the points that Nat has put in the review so that I can talk through those with you today as well, just to sort of explain that next level of plain language that we were able to apply to this document. So the first thing that she's flagged here is that there's assumed knowledge. So throughout the document, it did refer to the entrances as being on the west side. Then the coaches needed to go in on the east side. And then after the car park opens, then everyone goes on the west side. And that just flagged here that are we talking about a direction, or was that the actual name of the entrance there? So I think that the ChatGPT has assumed that it's the name of the entrance potentially, or just assumed that people know their direction. But it was something that we sort of flagged in there that needs to be considered when the information's being put together. So we've got 2 more points that I've highlighted here. So one of them is questioning the relevance of information. So here she's asking, who is the letter actually for? So we already talked at the start that the purpose and the audience was to inform families that use the venue. So in this situation, we potentially should have removed the information that is for the umpires and the coaches, because that's not actually who the information is going out to. While it may cover some of the audience that it's being sent out to, we're putting that onus on everyone in the community, everyone that plays at that centre, to have to filter through that information, just in case it's someone that actually has someone in their family that's a coach, or has someone in the family that is an umpire or a referee that uses the service as well. So our recommendation would be to actually have 2 separate resources there. The second one here is questioning need to know. Again, anyone that's done training with myself, or I think this was Zoe's favourite part of the training, was questioning what is nice to know and what is need to know. And Nat here has actually questioned the amount of information in the resource. So something that she suggested is, could another alert or another notification come out once the car park's opened up again? So keeping the information really clear at the start of what happens when the car park's being closed, and then we actually would then speak to people about what they can do when the information is open. This is just a recommendation. It may be considered best off to be able to give the whole project out to someone, but this is just the sort of thing that we would flag because we are putting the burden on the reader at the moment, trying to take on all of that information. On the side of the screen there, I actually done a little bit of cutting and pasting and removed just those two comments of what Nat put in there, what it may look like if we removed the information about after the car park had opened, and also the information that was for coaches and for referees. And you can see straight away, even just from cutting out that information, that it's a much more manageable piece of text. So being able to step back and actually look at what is needed in the document allowed us to sort of reduce the amount of load that we're putting on the reader. Okay, so I've just put together a really quick summary of what worked and what didn't work. So what AI did well, it removed some of the unnecessary information. So remember, it did take away a lot of the fluffy stuff that was put at the start of the document. It grouped information really well. It improved layout. The original did have a little bit more spacing in there as well. I just had to sort of condense it a bit to be able to fit it on the slide. But overall, it was really well laid out and easy to read. And it definitely added a friendly tone as well, which is very suitable for the audience that it was going out to. What AI didn't do is it didn't add information to improve usability. So probably one of my first flags or one of my first questions that I would have there is, would you actually add a map? It could have resolved a lot of the area issues as well. So on top of maybe referring to what the entrance name was, as if you had a map there, you could have been really clear about what entrances people need to go to, and it also would have helped with where to park as well. Remove information to keep it relevant to the reader or audience. So AI doesn't actually tend to question you about the information that you want to put into your document. It just takes what you're putting in and rewords it and restructures it and groups it. So just something that you really need to be considering when you're putting information in there is really questioning who your audience is, what your purpose is, and if that's really need to know or if it's just nice to know, which we tend to do a lot. And it also didn't flag questionable information or assumed knowledge as well. So I spoke to this example before. Which way's west? Do you know which way's west? I don't. And it wouldn't be able to inform me where I would need to go if I was going to this basketball centre. So just taking that next level of questioning and understanding there. And I've got a caution sign there because I sort of stumbled upon something else around AI that I was not aware of. And it's that AI makes up information. I had absolutely no idea, but it has been quite a journey learning. And I'm so fascinated by this since I discovered it. And so I had to include it. So I put a little AI warning in here, and I'm certainly not here to tell you not to use AI, but I do think this is a really important part that needs to be flagged. So I actually asked AI to please show me research that has reviewed AI specifically when used in plain language. Okay, so this is when I was just starting out exploring how I can use AI to be able to convert a document. And I thought it'd be really great to have some, nice references in there going back to my uni days. So anyway, I asked it, it gave me this one, and I thought, how fantastic. It's in a great journal. It's really relevant, and it answers exactly what I asked it to answer. So I was pretty excited. So of course I went to go look at it because I thought I can pull some quotes out of there. This would be fantastic. And I couldn't find it. So I've actually started having conversations with ChatGPT. So that's a little bit of a side thing that I'll need to watch there. But I went back and I actually asked it where this document was, or where this research paper was, and does it actually exist? And this was its response. It doesn't exist. It just made it up. It did then give me some real research options down the bottom there. But it actually just wanted to please me so much with my question that it just came up with a better answer than the ones that were actually available, which those ones down the bottom there are actually available and they are actually real. So just something to flag. It wants to please you. It will tell you what you want to hear. I also did, and I didn't take a screenshot of it, but I also asked it to refer to the four principles of plain language. It got 3 right, and then it just completely made one up. So I think that it's really important. I couldn't find that back, so I didn't screenshot it. Otherwise, I would have included it. But I do think it's really important to just be really considerable consider the information that's coming through as well. And I did just see a comment pop up saying it's probably because I said please. So yes, I was very polite to it, and it gave me exactly what I wanted there. So just watch what it's giving you as well. And just this last slide, I thought, yes, I've been having conversations with ChatGPT, so I just decided to ask it, can AI do plain language? And it basically wrote my presentation in this one quote for me here. So the short answer is AI can be useful, but it can't do plain language without people understanding it, or people who understand it. And I thought that was such a brilliant way to end this lunch and learn, because that is true. You need to know what you're asking it, and you need to know what it is producing. So in short, or not really in short, but overall, as a summary, it definitely did create a plain language version that could potentially be used as a starting point. It definitely helped group the information. So if you're not someone that sort of processes the information in that way, it can be a really great start. I personally find it really hard to re-edit something that's already been edited. So I'm not sure that I really found something that I was planning on using, but it definitely has its place if there's something that you're wanting to do as a first step. But I definitely recommend thinking about what the information is that it's being put out there, and further thinking about who your audience is, and and what your purpose is of your document. But that is me. That is the information that I sort of came up with. So thank you for coming along on this little journey with me through AI. I am more than happy for anybody to contact me, to reach out, to ask any questions. I do plan on sending an email out after this. You will get the recording as well. I'll send any resources that I came across, or also the recording out to anyone that registered for the Lunch and Learn as well. But we do have 5 minutes or so. So if there are any questions, I certainly am not claiming to know a great deal about AI. It was very new to me. But if there are any questions while I'm online about my findings, or anything around plain language, I'm really happy to answer those as well.
Thanks, Yannicka. We have a couple of comments. I particularly was struck by a couple of your points. One being, and I saw a lot of reactions to this, AI actually making things up. That's one of the comments in here from Isabella, saying that Chat AI does the same thing with legal cases. Will make things up. So I suppose that's a really important lesson for users to vet sources, isn't it? As opposed to trusting that what AI tells us is true. Also, your point was really well made about it depends on the user's style. That, for some of us, having a draft to work on that's AI generated and then bring our human brain to it might be a good place to start. For others of us, it might be more difficult to edit something that AI has come up with rather than do it ourselves with our human plain language brain. So a couple more comments that this was really valuable, very interesting. Thank you. It was great to see the output using AI, super practical, informative, and interesting. We've got about 4 minutes left. I believe that users or attendees are able to unmute yourselves. If you give it a go, please feel free to do that and ask any questions. Also, feel free to enter into the chat, the Q&A, or raise a hand, and I'm happy to unmute your microphone for you. Here's a question from Eldon. What are your thoughts on tools like the Hemingway editor?
Is the Hemingway editor, is that relies on usability, readability scales? Is that the Hemingway editor?
Hi, Janica. Yeah, Eldon speaking here. Yeah, that's right. You copy and paste text into it. It gives you a reading score. And what I find interesting rather than the reading score is it identifies the very hard to read and hard to read sentences. And they have a paid version which will create a text for you, but I prefer to then just use that as feedback, and I address all of those bits of the text that it identifies as problematic.
Yeah. So we do talk a little bit about reading levels in plain language. They're a useful step because they're quite, something like that can be quite good at sort of flagging a sentence to sort of look at or reassess, so to draw your attention to it. The thing that I will flag with any sort of readability tool is that it really doesn't look at the audience, it doesn't look at the situation, it doesn't look at assumed knowledge. So I wouldn't sort of use it as a final be all and end all. Like if they sort of say, oh, yep, you've got it down to a reading 5 to 7 reading level, then it's definitely going to be suitable for your audience. I think that's the way they used to sort of be painted. They used to be, if you knew you had it down to level 5 to level 7, then that would be your last step. So we're very cautious about them because that's the way that they've been viewed in the past. But if it's something that helps you sort of see what you should work on, then I think that that's not necessarily a bad option. I wouldn't necessarily pay for a paid version though, because I think the result that you're going to get at the end isn't necessarily for your audience either. But hopefully that helps.
I see a hand up from Sandra, and Sandra, please feel free to unmute to ask your question. I've also seen another question come in.
Yeah, thank you. It's Sandra here. Just off the back of the Hemingway, we definitely use the free version, and we will only use it if something we know is particularly complex, in the health area, and we're trying to think. The great thing about Hemingway is it will prompt you again with your passive voice and things like that, that you sometimes forget, about. So it picks those things up as well. No, I was just going to make a comment on the AI and it telling fibs. Apparently it's to do with the generative learning. So AI develops by learning, by people putting more and more and more in there. So it has, the more that it's learning, the more that it's realizing how to give you what you want. So it's actually an issue that's cropping up with it because because it's getting to the point now where it's creating stuff that's just not true, thinking that it's telling you what you want to hear. So
yeah, because it's kind of just learning off.
It's learning
itself
off
each time, so it's going to kind of get implode eventually.
what people are putting into it. So, you know, so if people are putting in similar requests across the board, and it doesn't matter whether it's ChatGPT or Copilot or any of them, the way that it learns sets it up to tell you what you want to hear. So,
oh, there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
it's been a big learning experience.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Well, thanks, everyone. We are at time now. There are a couple more comments in the chat, and I will leave it across to Janneke for the follow-up steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can see that there's some more conversation happening in the chat, so I'll make sure I do have a look at that and see if there's anything that I should be answering in the email that I send out. But I'm really conscious of your time, so I will end it here. I will send out any resources or any information, any follow-up information at all, and feel free to please respond to the email that I send out as well, if you've got any questions or any queries or feedback at all. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.